Valley Truthers, as we go into club season, what is your expectation of your club volleyball coach in regards to communication? Do you want the coach to be in close contact with you as the parent, medium contact, or no contact at all outside of the player? At what age does the communication begin to go through the players, if at all? And at what price point does the communication start and end with you? These are the conversations that I have with parents often. I can remember one parent actually asked, when are the practices? Mind you, we had already been 5 good practices in when she asked. She actually stated that the coach had never reached out to her to see what was even going on with the player. Now, I will preface that this was a team younger than 14s. Does the dedication and commitment to the team, the club, and the sport itself fall solely on your coach? Well, I don't think so. The coach has not committed over $5,000 for travel ball. The coach has 10 to 15 players on the team, all vying for a spot on the floor. The fact that the player participated in more than one competitive sport didn't quite help either. Let me stick this in before I continue. I know that all clubs say they don't mind a second sport, that, well, it's important to play more than one sport and be involved in other things. But the truth is, the coach will say these things, but that's not the attitude or the look that it actually takes on. Now, does it? How do you balance 2 competitive travel sports going on at the same time? How do you commit 100% effort to both sports? Is it even possible to do so? Well, in this day and age, the multi-sport athlete is becoming more and more of a difficult task. Now, I was just in a conversation with a friend whose son had elected to drop one of his 2 sports, basketball or football, to kind of focus all of his attention on the sport that he was offered a full scholarship for. His reasoning, that he doesn't want to risk getting injured. He's only in his 2nd year, mind you, of high school. While the parents are struggling to convince him to continue playing both sports, they also really don't want to force him to play and not give his best effort, which could then cause injury as well. Okay, injury is a whole other topic now, isn't it? So let's get right on back to communication. Club coaches are leaning more and more on the player to be the one relaying all information to the parents. This goes right along those lines of advocating for self, growing into adulthood, and that big word, responsibilities. But how much are you really putting on these players at the cost of thousands? On one hand, I totally understand they need responsibility and need to be accountable. But I also think at 15U and under, the parents should be playing more of a communication role, simply because at those ages, the players do not drive, and most are not even going to sleep and waking themselves up on time. They are really just getting acclimated, right, to the changes that come when entering middle school or high school, which means a lot of info will get lost in translation, unfortunately. From a coaching perspective, right, I tend to make sure that I inform both my players and their parents on most things. Then I double back to make sure it was done to my satisfaction. I have a team chat and a parent chat so that everyone is always informed and nothing or very little falls through the cracks. While I've spoken with other coaches, one stated, yeah, 12s is more communication because there's more development and they still have a lot to learn. At 16s, players are old enough to advocate for themselves, so less communication with parents is needed. There should be at least 2 meetings, either halfway through and at the end of the season, or 1/3 of the way through the season, then 2/3, then at the end of the season. While another coach stated, make sure that there are 3 meetings a year with parents and athletes. What's the worst that can happen? Someone might feel that's too much communication. Yet, I'm secure in knowing I have covered all my bases with the 3 meetings. So, at minimum, 3 parental meetings need to occur over the course of any club season. The first meeting should occur at the beginning of the season. This meeting should lay down the law. It's typically the team meeting. All or most of the do's and don'ts, the expectations of the players, the coaches, and the parents, the needs of the team, like parental positions that need to be filled, and end with a Q&A for any questions parents want to ask and coaches can answer. During this part of the season, players and team goals should be set as well. I typically have players choose 3 individual obtainable, remember that, obtainable goals for the season and 3 team goals. Note, this meeting should not be about any financial aspect or responsibilities of the parent, as that is for the administration. Sometimes parents want to hold sidebar conversations as to position and playing time, but this is not the meeting for that. So just keep in mind that whatever a coach might have seen at tryouts, parents, might not be what the player is showing strength at as the season gets started. Heck, the player might not be progressing at all or at the rate in which the team needs her to. The second meeting should be individual and held with player, parent, and coaches. In this meeting, the coaches should be discussing the goals set during the time it took to get to meeting 2. If the player is working on those goals, if those goals need to be tweaked because the player has actually completed the goal. For an example, I want to get my underhand serve over the net. Well, if the player has managed to complete this goal, then the coaches and the players need to help progress the goal by maybe starting the player on overhand serving. In this meeting, there should be time for a coach to speak with parents one-on-one to discuss any issues or concerns that need to be addressed as well. Although at this stage in the game, coaches are probably already putting out fires, but might need parents to step in and give that extra assistance. The third and last meeting should be done as the season is winding down, definitely before the last tournament. The talk should be about where the player is currently and what needs to be done or where the player should attend training over the summer. Don't get me wrong, there will be many small conversations going on between the parents and the coaches, but these 3 should definitely happen over the course of the season. Some parents will seem to communicate much more than others, but again, these 3 meetings should be a signature pillar of a season for all involved. That's players, parents, and coaches. Which brings me to story time. One season, we had a coach that only had 1 meeting, which was held at the first practice. It was with the parents and it laid down some rules and discussed playing time and so on. But when I tell you there was no more significant communication between players, parents, and coaches, I mean, there was none. This was the first season that I had ever seen a coach bolt out of the gym and give no regard to if all her players were safely picked up after practices or even tournaments. When I say that we had a group text and we would only hear from her the night before or the morning of tournaments with the team work assignment and court assignment, she never once broke bread with her team. When I say there was no communication at all, not even with the players, until one practice out of the blue, our team got kicked off our court so that an older team could use it. She finally held a meeting with the players, simply as to not cut practice short. Players were not prepared. They were confused as to what the discussion was going to be about. The meeting was so out of left field, even parents were left with questions, that of course were never answered. Taking the time to keep everyone abreast of what's happening brings me peace of mind, as well as making sure that my parents know that I, one, care and respect their time and their money. I can remember when the communication ended when Leilani became of age. Yes, I felt like I was going crazy and was going to be dropping the ball somewhere. I even asked her coach, oh my God, why the lack of communication? That's when a coach told me that she wanted to give them more responsibility. So I backed down, even though I didn't think Leilani or the other players were quite ready for it. But they proved me wrong, y'all. They were responsible and accountable. Leilani kept me up on everything that was going on with her team. And aside from a few hiccups in the beginning, she was overall on top of things. So now, let me say, I think this was about the time she started driving, which was probably 16 years, maybe. There's nothing worse than a coach that doesn't care or communicate. So to recap, 1, meetings are really important. 2, at minimum, there should be 3 signature meetings over the course of a season. And number 3, parents, after a certain age, it's kind of okay to let go, let grow, and give the responsibilities to them. But remember, without communication, there's no success. It's rough out here in these volleyball streets. So until next time, play like you're going to be subbed out. That's all for now, but if you like the content, leave a comment below, spike the like button, and subscribe to my channel.